Good evening or afternoon, everybody. My name is Jitka Houfková and I am a maths and physics teacher, and I work at the Charles University, and I mainly train future physics teachers. But also I go to preschool and elementary school, primary school, and I do a lot of experiments with little kids there. So now I would like to talk with you about how can we introduce an experiment to our pupils. So imagine you are a teacher, primary school teacher, and you come to class, or maybe imagine you are a pupil and your teacher comes and introduce a new experiment. So, dear pupils, let's prepare 9 corks, a rubber bands, a toothpick, a paper, a scissors, and we will do an experiment. Or we can do it another way. And now I will ask you to prepare a stopwatch, or maybe you can use your cell phone and just measure how much time I will need for this second version. Okay, are you ready? Are you measuring my time? So, my dear pupils, uh, imagine that our friends Lilu and Alina were on vacation on their favorite island. It was the end of their vacation and they wanted to return home. The next day, school would start again, and they were excited to see their friends again. When they were packing their things, they realized that they had no fuel for their motorboat. How could they go back home from the island? As they were thinking about this, they saw a wind turbines far off the shore, and they had an idea. Could the wind move their boat? And now we can go to the experiment. So who measured my time? How much time did I need? When I tried to measure the time myself, it took less than a minute. But can you feel the difference when you are primary school pupil? Which introduction would get you more interested in the experiment? Johanna, the next slide, please. So we, with the other teachers who worked on the whole project, we agreed that we want to combine stories with experiments, and also we want to use the experiments to promote the language. Because stories can awaken the children's interest, and stories can communicate messages and information. But for this age group, not only the information, but what I consider much more important is the feelings and attitude towards science. So if we gain the interest of little kids into science, it's much more important that if they remember that something floats and something sinks or whatever. So that's why we really concentrated on interconnected all the experiments with stories, because visual and aesthetic content in the story, it arouses the curiosity, it increases the interest in observing and questioning of the little kids. Next slide, please. And because there is a very strong link between the scientific process skills, like to describe, to discuss, to predict, explain, to make hypotheses, and to analyze ideas. So there is a strong links between all these to the talk you and dialogues you use in your classroom. And because children, they learn by different ways, by looking, by listening, by processing texts, and also through hands-on actions and movement. And when more of these channels are tackled and used, more neurons in the brains are active, and it increases the probability that the kids will remember something. So that's why we do all this. The next slide, please. And maybe some of you already noticed that we mentioned the Lilu and Alina from the first book we published with Science on Stage a few years ago. So our two friends are back here and they have new adventures. And the whole material is introduced by a longer story. Let me introduce you to the story. Lilu's big vacation experience. Lilu had been looking forward to his vacation for a long time. Together with his friend Alina, he got to travel to his favorite island again. He could still remember everything so well. The shady trees on the mountains, the ancient castle with its many towers and battlements. He was determined to show his friends all of this. A week later, the two friends disembarked from the ship and set foot on the island. Lilu immediately took Alina on a hike into the mountains. Once they reached the top, Lilu was a little confused. Unlike last time, he could see whole island from there. Not a single tree disturbed the view. Then some more stuff is going on, and I choose another paragraph. Another day, Lilu wanted to show Alina the ancient castle. The two of them were happily walking around on the top of the walls when Alina suddenly stopped. She pointed to a stone figure whose head looked very strange. One would think it had been eaten away by moth. Could that be? On closer inspection, Lilu saw that all the figures, all the statues on the walls looked more broken than he remembered. The, the two children decided to do some research on this. So you could see these two paragraphs. Each of them leads to some investigation, to some part of our experiments, where the videos and the additional materials will let you as a teachers as well as your pupils to investigate the problems. The first was about how the trees are missing and what all it can cause, all troubles. And the second one was about the pollution and what it's doing to the statues or to buildings and things like that. The videos, one more example, because these two examples were from the introduction of the first story. But each section of our experiments has also a shorter stories that link the experiments together. And for that I choose the last paragraph I will read to you today. Lilu loved walking in the countryside, enjoying the green of the trees and the fresh smell of the airs after it had rained. One day Lilu went for a walk in the forest where they used to have picnics when he was little, but something felt different. There were fewer trees, the air was warmer, and the ground was very dry. This place used to feel so full of life, Lilu thought. Just then a gentle breeze carried the voice of a wise old tree nearby. "We trees help the land stay strong and healthy," said the tree. Lilu asked, surprised, "Why is this?" "Well," said the tree, "think about it. Think about the difference in the forest ground when we trees are still around, and what the ground would look like when we are gone." So again, this short introduction leads to an experiment and investigation the kids can do. Also, when you work with the videos have stop signs, so you can stop them and talk to your kids, let them discuss, make hypotheses, and increase their language skills. And also we are aware that not only language can be supported by experiments, so the whole materials we tried to support also different problems we all are facing in our classrooms. So we wanted to provide support in really a diverse classroom. So you will find options for different levels of pupils, different areas, explanatory text for teachers to help teachers to understand all the topics better and easier. So just feel free and investigate the whole material, not only the experiments, but also the stuff around.